Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now it is happening again. Bitcoin is repeating history, not just on this chart right here, but we are once again building a new level of liquidity just below the price of Bitcoin here in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, like what we saw just the other day, pointing towards potentially another drop and already starting another drop towards this next liquidity as another liquidity grab, which I'll talk about in just a moment alongside my trading strategy for Bitcoin. And of course, the US stock market is also playing out another short-term dump here, which is not helping Bitcoin and crypto at all right now, of course. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum, right now the price of ETH is breaking below a crucial area on the price chart that we need to pay attention to, while the price of XRP is already doing the same, of course, collapsing towards the downside on the larger time frames. So yes, I'm still currently in my trades, which I'll talk about in just a moment. So definitely stick around and watch the video to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, we need to take a quick look at the US stock market today. This is the S&P 500 index on the 1 hour time frame, and we can see that right now we are once again seeing another pullback, at least here in the short term in the US stock market. So we're basically undoing yesterday's slight little bounce. Of course, we started the day with a major drop and then ended the day with a slight little bounce in the US stock market over the last one day, but then once again, we're now back to seeing just another short-term drop. So of course, if we're talking about the short term, this is not doing any favors for Bitcoin and crypto. As I always say, usually the crypto market is highly correlated to the stock market, which means, of course, if the stock market is showing weakness, having a slight little pullback like this, overall, we should be expecting some sort of weakness or maybe some sort of pullback of some sort for the crypto market, which is now happening, at least in the short term. But as I'm recording this video, right in the imminent short term, we're starting to see maybe a slight little bounce again. So once again, overall, we're not necessarily seeing a massive crash in the stock market, but still showing signs of weakness, at least for now. So keep that in mind throughout the video. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the weekly time frame, nothing's really changed on the larger time frames over the last one day. So this super trend indicator still sitting in the red. And of course, we still have this massive bearish divergence playing out, still active on the weekly Bitcoin price chart. So like I've been saying this entire time for many months now on the channel, despite what happens in the short term, yes, from time to time on smaller time frames, in the shorter term, we can see bullish reliefs, little bounces and things like that along the way towards the downside. But if we're talking about the bigger picture, talking about the multi-month long bearish trend, at least for now, we're still in that bearish situation. We're still not looking good when we're talking about the larger time frames, the bigger picture. And so that is all still playing out on the weekly time frame. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, of course, over the last few weeks and really over the last couple of months, we've been playing out this massive fractal, repeating very similar price action right now to what we saw in 2022. More specifically, we're potentially at the stage in the fractal where we were back in around May 2022. And so like I've said a few times recently here on the channel, of course, this fractal does suggest, as always, no guarantees, but it does suggest that most likely very soon we could start having a little bit of a break from all of this extreme bearish price action within the next few days or possibly weeks. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying a huge bullish trend reversal or anything like that. I'm not saying expect a lot of strength for Bitcoin. Obviously, on the larger time frames, we're still showing a lot of weakness. The bigger picture still not looking good. And obviously, what happened last time in 2022 after that short-term break from the bearish price action, we ultimately saw more bearish price action later on. So keep in mind the bigger situation that's playing out right now. But once again, just in the next 1 to 2 weeks, this does suggest potentially a bit of a break, either some choppy sideways price action or slight little bullish relief as a likely scenario at some stage in the coming weeks here. So just keep that in mind as a likely scenario still to be playing out here based on this fractal right here that's not yet been invalidated. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, obviously right now we're starting to break below this previous low that we saw back in April 2025, which was sitting at around 74 to 75,000, but we're still hitting oversold here in the daily Bitcoin RSI. And if we're simply looking at the last couple of times we hit oversold in the daily Bitcoin RSI, within the next few days, over the next 1 to 2 weeks or so, we did see at least some sort of bounce, some sort of slight little relief, a break from all of the bearish price action just in the short term. But once again, I want to make this clear. This is only a shorter term signal. This does not guarantee that we've hit the bottom. In fact, it usually does not mean we've hit the bottom at all. Overall, once again, we're still clearly in a larger bearish trend. Remember, understand the difference between the different time frames. If we're zooming out to the larger time frames, the bigger picture, the longer term, the multi-month trend, not looking good. But in the short term, with this oversold signal and of course this fractal still potentially playing out in the next few days, the coming days, or potentially the next 1 to 2 weeks, we could soon start to see a little bit of a relief. So just don't be surprised if we do see some sort of relief within the next 1 to 2 weeks or so. But remember, do not be fooled by any little bounce in the short term, because the bigger picture still not looking good. And if we're zooming out a little bit again, taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we can see that right now the price of Bitcoin is running into a very important area on the price chart, sitting in between roughly 72,000 to 76,000 based on previous significant support that we saw back in April 2025, and also previous significant resistance that we saw basically throughout the first half of 2024 at roughly 72 to 74k. And so once again, we're testing a very important area on the price chart, which will likely hold a support, at least based on this previous example. Once again, previously this has been significant support for the price, but if the price eventually breaks towards the downside below around 72,000 with confirmation, in that situation, whether it's on this move right here or maybe after a bit of a break and then a break towards the downside, either way, if we break below 72,000, of course, with confirmation and fail to get back above that area, obviously that would not be good news for the price of Bitcoin and would be entering back into this previous range that we saw back throughout most of 2024. And in that situation, the next significant area of support is really in between roughly 53,000 to 56,000. Yes, that is right. We could potentially see the price of Bitcoin enter into the mid 50k range if we actually confirm a strong break below roughly 72,000, and especially if we fail to get back above that area in the coming weeks or months potentially. But it is worth pointing out that, of course, on the 3-day Bitcoin RSI, we're also now entering into oversold. And the last time we saw an oversold signal on the 3-day time frame was right here around 21st of November. And what came next was just a bit of a relief in the coming days and weeks. Remember, this is only a shorter term signal pointing towards potentially a short-term relief at some stage in the next few days or weeks, but does not mean that we've hit the bottom. So understand that. And potentially another reason as to why we're seeing another dump in the immediate short term for the price of Bitcoin after that slight little bounce that we saw within the last couple of days or so is not only due to, of course, the fact that we're seeing another dump in the short term in the stock market. Obviously, this is also helping to contribute to the continued dump in the crypto market. But another reason on top of this is, of course, the fact that we still have more liquidity building below the price of Bitcoin. Here in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, looking at the last 1 month worth of price action, we could see more liquidity building in between 71.7k to 72,500. So of course, as I always say, Bitcoin usually moves towards where we have a lot of liquidity. It kind of acts as a magnet pulling the price towards where we have a lot of liquidity. So now that we have more liquidity in that area, once again in between 71.7k to 72,500, it is quite likely, and maybe even by the time you're watching this video, the price will likely hit that area to wipe out that area of liquidity. So that's just another reason potentially as to why we're seeing another dip here in the short term. And obviously it's very important for Bitcoin if we wipe out that liquidity there at roughly 71, 72k, give or take. It's very important for the price to then hold roughly 72k and see a bounce ideally back above 72k in order to avoid something much worse. And so due to potentially this reason behind this latest little drop in the price of Bitcoin, if we simply take out that liquidity and then see another short-term bounce in the short term, like what we saw just yesterday, obviously we wiped out that liquidity and then saw a slight little bounce, potentially I'll remain in this long position. Yes, I am still in this Bitcoin long position right here, which was part of a hedge against this short position in case we were to see a bit more of a bullish relief, which could possibly still happen in the coming days or weeks. I'm not ruling that out, but once again, I'm still in the shorts for XRP, the long on Bitcoin. So they're kind of just canceling each other out. As you can see right here, the unrealized loss on the Bitcoin trade is roughly equal to the unrealized profit on the XRP trade And of course, I've also secured extra profits over the last few days out of that XRP trade a few days ago, as I explained a few days ago here on the channel. But the point where I'd potentially just get out of that Bitcoin trade is if we wipe out this liquidity in the coming hours or minutes, potentially very, very soon. Once again, maybe even by the time you're watching this video, if we wipe out that liquidity, but then keep dumping below 72K, in that situation, I'll potentially just get out of that Bitcoin long position, stay in the shorts position for XRP, and therefore continue to profit as the overall market continues to dump. But I'm just staying in that long position for now, at least while there's still the possibility that we just wipe out that liquidity and then maybe see another short-term bounce after we wipe out that liquidity, which is why I'm just basically in that hedge against the short position. So that's my current trading strategy. Obviously, both of these trades, at least for now, kind of just canceling each other out. But then once again, I'd completely get out of the Bitcoin long position. Basically, if we break below roughly 72K or 71.7K and then keep heading towards the downside after we already wipe out that liquidity, that will be the point of invalidation and the point where I'll just get out of the Bitcoin trade. And like I just said a moment ago, keep the shorts position open for XRP to continue to profit as the market dumps. But then let's just say if we wipe out this liquidity very soon at 71.7K to 72,500, and then we actually start seeing a slight little bounce. Let's just say if we continue to hold this as support, start bouncing after we wipe out that liquidity, then potentially I will look to use this latest little drop right here to add to that long position if we bounce after first hitting the liquidity. So basically, those are the things that I'm watching right now. We're still in a wait and see moment as of recording this video, and that is still my trading strategy and the key levels and signals that I'm watching out for my trading strategy. But as always, nothing that I say is personal financial advice because I don't know your personal financial situation and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just simply letting you know very transparently here on YouTube what I'm currently doing with my own money, sharing my trading strategy completely for free as usual here on YouTube, fully transparently. And of course, if you want to take trades just like this for yourself to easily profit in the crypto market, you need to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below the video will take you to this BTNX exchange right now, which is currently where I'm trading Bitcoin at the moment. And by the way, BTNX is also a no KYC exchange. And if you sign up using that first link below the video to make your BTNX account, currently for a limited time, there's this exclusive prize pool of up to 50,000 USDT, as you can see right here on the landing page, which basically means there's a bunch of extra bonuses that you can claim and take advantage of using that link below the video just by simply trading crypto. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. You might as well take advantage of this. Once again, first link below the video to BTNX. But if you want another option out there, another exchange that I also use and trade on myself in that situation, of course, check out the second link below the video in the description and in the pinned comment, because that second link below the video will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange, showing that 2bit just recently partnered with La Liga. And by the way, this is also the exchange that I'm using myself to trade XRP. And they just recently had this massive partnership here. So there's currently a limited time event celebrating this partnership with 800,000 USD in prizes just by trading crypto using that second link below the video to 2bits. And so once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out and take advantage of these major bonuses, these major prizes here using that second link below the video to 2bit. And in case you're wondering, yes, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and right now overall the Bitcoin dominance is still just relatively range bound, basically just chopping around relatively sideways. So overall, yes, we could see little short-term bullish moves, short-term bearish moves, but for the most part, expect a lot of the major altcoins out there on average to perform very similar to whatever Bitcoin is doing, not necessarily much better or much worse. So of course, if Bitcoin is having this slight little dump and then maybe even a slight little bounce at some stage soon, expect something similar for a lot of altcoins. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, right now the price of ETH is getting very close and possibly now attempting a break, not yet confirmed, but starting to possibly break below a very important area of support on the price chart based on this golden pocket area of support, the most important Fibonacci area, and that's sitting in between between around 2150 to 2250. And so obviously, if the price of ETH actually does confirm a break below around 2150 with a daily candle close below that level, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, in that situation, the next major target and point of support to watch out for would be sitting at roughly around 1.8k based on this 78.6% Fibonacci level at around 1800 would be once again the next target towards the downside if we actually confirm this break below around 2150, which right now we've not yet confirmed. And it is worth pointing out that the daily Ethereum RSI is obviously well into oversold territories. And if we're looking at the last couple of times we hit oversold in the daily Ethereum RSI, we usually see at least some sort of slight little relief, some sort of bounce, a break from all of the bearish price action, at least in the short term. Once again, this is not always a bottom signal. We can go lower later on, but just in the short term for the next few days, maybe the next 1 or 2 weeks, we could likely see some sort of slight bounce or maybe just some choppy sideways price action, just having a bit of a break in the shorter term from all of the bearish price action. And if we're zooming out a little bit, taking a look at the 3-day time frame, obviously we have this crucial area of support, which we're also possibly breaking below. That's at roughly around 2.2k on the low end, but really at around 2150. If we break below 2150, then obviously it would be breaking below this area. And in that situation, if of course we continue a break below 1.8k, which would be the next short-term target, the next significant area of support on the 3-day time frame would be sitting in between around 1500 to 1600. So 1.5k to 1.6k as the next massive target towards the downside. But obviously between now and then, we of course have this short-term level to watch out for at around 1.8k if once again we first actually confirm the break below 2150. And obviously not only are we hitting oversold in the daily Ethereum RSI, we're also now hitting oversold in the 3-day Ethereum RSI. And the last time we saw this sort of signal confirm on the 3-day time frame, we did once again at least see some sort of bounce. Of course, this one right here occurred around a major bottom, but the time before that was just a shorter term bounce for a few days, 1 to 2 weeks, give or take, before ultimately seeing another bearish move later on. So that is still the situation right now. Potentially at some stage within the next few days or possibly weeks, we could start to see just a slight little relief. So keep that in mind. But overall, the longer term trend still not looking good. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, it's a somewhat similar situation for XRP. Obviously, the long-term trend not looking good right now, as I've been warning about for many months now on the channel, since actually all the way back up here. It's when I started warning about this massive bearish divergence, calling for a multi-month bearish trend. And right now, all of that's still playing out. This bearish divergence on the weekly time frame still currently active. And of course, over the last few days, we already now officially confirmed a weekly candle close below that significant point of support at $1.80. We're obviously already well below that level and now breaking further towards the downside below $1.60, potentially now on our way towards this next significant area of support sitting in between around $1.30 to $1.40. So that is really the next major target to watch out for. And yes, we could likely find a decent amount of support at around $1.30 to $1.40, but if the price eventually breaks below that area, in that situation, we could potentially see a move all the way down towards in between 90 cents to $1 as the next major target towards the downside if once again we first confirm a break below $1.30 to $1.40. And so once again, from time to time, we can see short-term bullish reliefs, little bounces and things like that along the way on the smaller time frames here and there, but don't be fooled by those short-term bounces. Overall, the bigger picture still not looking good, not just for XRP, but really the overall crypto market, as I've been saying for a long time now on the channel. And if we're taking a quick look at the daily XRP chart, we can clearly see that the larger trends that we're in is very much obviously a bearish trend, forming lower highs and lower lows. But of course, it is worth pointing out that we are hitting oversold in the daily XRP RSI. And the last time this happened, we did see just a slight little relief in the coming days or potentially the next 1 to 2 weeks as a likely scenario. So just keep that in mind. But I'm really saying that just to say, do not be fooled by any short-term bounce or slight little relief. Obviously, we can trade maybe a slight little relief like I'm potentially trying to do with Bitcoin if it holds that crucial support that I mentioned earlier. But overall, the bigger picture, if we're holding a trade over a longer period of time, we're still not looking good. So ideally, a longer term trade for multiple weeks or multiple months. Ideally, I'll be looking for short positions. Once again, not financial advice, but that's just letting you know about my trading strategy and what I'm looking out for. And so obviously, I'm still very much in that XRP shorts position. I've made no new changes to this trade over the last one day. I've not added or subtracted to the size of this trade over the last one day. So you can see margin still the same. Obviously, the size slightly reduced, but that's due to the price actually going towards the downside, which means each XRP is obviously worth a little bit less. But of course, that is essentially being translated into this unrealized P&L number, obviously going towards the upside as the price goes towards the downside. In case you're new to all of this, yes, you can make money even when prices are going down using things like short positions, as I'm currently doing right here for XRP. And so obviously the profits from this short position, at least at the moment, around 4,500 USD in unrealized profit, about 4,800 USD in realized profit. So overall, well over 9,000 USD in profits, at least for now, is well and truly offsetting those shorter term losses from the Bitcoin long position. And then once again, I'll potentially just cut that trade for Bitcoin, as I mentioned earlier in the video, if we start breaking below that key support, as I mentioned earlier. But in terms of the next take profit points for this short position right here for XRP, it'd really be these next major targets that I've been talking about for a very long time now on the channel, for actually months now on the channel. I've been talking about in between $1.30 to $1.40, and if that breaks around 90 cents to $1. A lot of people did not believe me when I was targeting these prices all the way back up here when the price was at $2, even $3. I was talking about these price targets, which are now getting closer to being hit. And so once again, if we start getting closer towards $1.30 to $1.40, that would potentially be another take profit point out of this short position, not closing the entire trade, but just slightly reducing the size of the trade at around that area on the price chart to take a little bit more profits in case we bounce from that level and start to see a bit more of a bounce, basically a slight little reversal in the short term from that level. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying in case that happens, I'll take a little bit of profits around that level, not financial advice, just letting you know what I'm potentially doing here. And if, of course, we break below that level, I'd still overall be in the shorts position, just a slightly smaller position, taking some profits once again, so that I could take more profits when we hit around, or if we hit, I should say, around 90 cents to $1. That would be another major take profit point for this shorts position. And so that's just a quick update on my trading strategy for the price of XRP. Not really changed all that much over the last one day. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the weekly time frame, right now the price of Solana is starting to break below a very important area on the price chart, previously acting as massive support for the price, and that was sitting in between around $95 to $105. And if we confirm this break towards the downside, especially with a weekly candle close, but really even just with multiple daily candle closes below $95, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, then in that situation, of course, the next major target, major point of support to watch out for is sitting in between around $75 to $80. And that could be another potential trading opportunity, because even that small little move on this price chart right here is still potentially roughly a 15% dump, and that's with no leverage. So just for example, not financial advice, a 15 or a 10x leverage shorts position in this example with a 15% move will be around a 150% profit, more than doubling your money in that example, not financial advice. But if we break below around $70 to $75 in that situation, we'll likely see a major collapse in the price all the way down towards around $45 to $50, which would be a potential massive trading opportunity. Let's just say if we're taking a trade from roughly 75 to, let's just say, around 50, that's more than a 35% move, or around 30 to 35% move towards the downside, and that's with no leverage once again. So potentially massive opportunities here for short positions. As always, not financial advice, but I'm just sharing what I'm looking at doing potentially myself if we see a bit more confirmation here, actually confirming the breaks below these key levels. And of course, it is worth pointing out that we're getting close to oversold in the weekly XRP RSI, but we're not there just yet. So technically we still have more room towards the downside, but it is worth pointing out that we are getting pretty close, which means potentially after the next major dump, we could soon hit oversold on the weekly time frame. And the last time we did that was around the end of the 2022 bear market. And so once again, we're not there just just yet, but we are getting close, so keep an eye on that on the weekly time frame. And if we're taking a look at the weekly Chainlink price chart, we're obviously breaking below a very important area here, which was sitting in between around $9.50 to $10. So obviously, technically, we've seen one weekly candle close just a few cents below $9.50, and right now, obviously, the price is continuing to break towards the downside. So far, we've failed to break out back above that area. So obviously, so far, so not so good for the price of Chainlink right here. Clearly, the longer term trend still very much bearish, despite seeing the occasional short-term bounce and short-term bullish reliefs here and there on the smaller timeframes. And so basically, right now, the next major target and major point of support to watch out for the price of Chainlink is in between roughly $8 to $8.50. And if the price breaks below that area, if we break below around $8, in that situation, we're entering back into this previous range that we saw back in the second half of 2022, the first half of 2023. And of course, the significant support for that previous range is sitting in between around $5 to $5.50 if we first break below $8 to $8.50, which is the next massive support to watch out for. But remember, these points are potential entry signals if we confirm a break below a key level to potentially trade or take a short position towards the next key level on the price chart. It's the next take profit point on the price chart for a short position. Once again, not financial advice. I'm just simply pointing out and explaining examples of potential trading strategies that I personally use myself. As you can see right here in the case of XRP, making money while the prices are dumping. So do not be fooled and don't think that you can't make any money by all of this bearish price action right here. In fact, some of the people out there make the most money from the crypto market while prices are dumping. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves, whether they're bullish or bearish, you need to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you're using those links below this video to those exchanges, you can take advantage of massive bonuses, extra bonuses that are only available using those links. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well take advantage of those extra bonuses using the links below this video. And of course, if you want to actually know how you can take trades like this to profit no matter what direction the price goes, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.